One of the big stories that developed over the weekend is that Trump is going to be accepting a $400 million jumbo jet, the luxurious, what was it? Something in the sky, heaven in the sky, something like that, from Qatar or Qatar or Qatar, not guitar. It's Qatar, but the country of Qatar. And because now it's just whatever, right? Norms, ethical barriers, the emoluments clause of the Constitution, who cares? He's going to accept it. Apparently using it as Air Force One until the end of his term or nearing the end of his term. And then he's going to transfer ownership over to his presidential library. Now, we have rules about how presidents can't just accept $400 million gifts from other countries, because you could imagine that causes a conflict of interest, could be seen as a bribe, etc. But Trump says, don't worry, and got very upset when he was confronted about that. We'll get to that in a second, but first, ABC reports in what may be the most valuable gift ever extended to the United States from a foreign government. The Trump administration is preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar, a gift that's to be available for use by President Trump as the new Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, at which time ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. Sources familiar and Trump ended up confirming this. Now, I didn't get her permission to share, so I'll just say someone who worked for the show was texting me this morning and said, dude, all this Qatar Trump jet stuff is insane. Literally, can you imagine and just imagine from Fox News' perspective, if scary Arab nations gave Barack Hussein Obama a free jet, like Fox News would make it a holiday, Megyn Kelly would tattoo the jet on her back like question mark. Anyway, wild day, and then on to other things that you don't need to know about, okay? Those are private text messages. Why are you wondering? But exactly, they would be saying, oh, this nation is scary, and they're bribing Barack Hussein Obama. You know that's what they would be saying. But with Trump, it's fine. Jamie Raskin posted, Trump must seek Congress's consent to take this $300 million gift. I think it's $400, but the Constitution is perfectly clear. No president of any kind, whatever, from a foreign state without congressional permission. A gift you use for 4 years and the deposit in your library is still a gift and a grift. And palace in the sky, that's what it was described as. And here's the palace in the sky. Now, this thing, I've only taken a jet this size when I was going to like a really, those gargantuous planes for like a 16-hour flight when I was going to like Africa or something, super long flights with a bunch of people. And supposedly we need this for Air Force One. That is an obese plane. That is a obese plane. Okay. My goodness. Lay off the French fries. Turbo jet. Come on. Now, about this, Trump was asked, and he did not like being asked about this. If you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button.
It's going to be very interesting.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why not?
It's only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto, when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. Then they putt it and they miss it. And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully.
Yeah, a really great anecdote. Good job, Bubby. That was a good anecdote. Also, back to this being perceived as a bribe. All right, cute. And also, what do you actually have to say about and he lashed out at ABC, of course, as he always does, but about the fact that you're receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in the form of a gift. That's not something that you're supposed to do, especially not without congressional approval. And it's not just being gifted to the United States. It's then going to Trump's presidential library, luxury jumbo jet, too many Big Macs jet, gargantuous. My goodness. I don't know why you would need that much space. Like I said, there were probably hundreds of people at the time I've taken a plane that big, jam-packed into there. And he's just doing it for Air Force One. Like, so huge. He was asked again here.
Qatar. Has Qatar asked for anything in exchange for that $400 million luxury jumbo jet? And how can the American people be so sure that they will not in the future?
Well, I think what happens with the plane is that, we're very disappointed that it's taking Boeing so long to build a new Air Force One. We have an Air Force One that's 40 years old. And if you take a look at that compared to the new plane of the equivalent, stature at the time, it's not even the same ballgame. You look at some of the Arab countries and the planes they have parked alongside of the United States of America plane. It's like from a different planet. And it's close to 40 years old, might be more than 40 years old now. And we, when I first came in, I signed an order to get it built. I took it over from the Obama administration. They had originally agreed. I got the price down much lower. And then when the election didn't exactly work out the way that it should have, a lot of work was not done on the plane because a lot of people didn't know. They made change orders that were so stupid.
So we're not going to touch on this too long, unfortunately, because I almost think, as sick as this is, I almost think he'd prefer us debate over this than other things. But I do think it's important to at least touch on it. Brian Tyler Cohen had a couple good posts on this. The president, he's quoting his writings. It's quite literally selling access and influence to the highest bidder. Qatar isn't giving a $400 million jet out of the goodness of their hearts. They expect something in return. That's how transactional relationships work, and nobody understands transactional relationships better than Donald Trump. What exactly is Qatar buying with this $400 million gift? Access, influence, favorable trade terms? We don't know, and that's the problem. When foreign governments can simply purchase the president's favor with luxury gifts, American interests take a back seat to the president's personal enrichment. But I was told from Caroline Levitt that Trump has never done anything that's not in the interest of the American people. How could you even suggest, as Levitt said, how could you even suggest that the guy who spent his entire life pursuing his own wealth increase would ever care about his own wealth increase? Did you know that he donated his $400,000 salary to the government? He doesn't accept his $400,000. Now, he does make billions off of his crypto meme coin, but he donated 16 cents back to the government. So, you ever thought of that? I bet you didn't know that, did you? Fake news ABC, fake news BTC. Yeah, I mean, obviously the guy who's doing, you can't excuse the crypto venture where people can just buy, and then companies are saying, we're buying this to try to influence him on trade policy, to put money in his pocket. You have the notorious example of Jimmy Carter. Often is wrongly said that he sold his peanut farm, but he put it in, sever ties with it, put into a trust or whatever, and then sold it after, just so there was no appearance that money could be funneled through that business. And now we have a guy who you could funnel money through his real estate ventures, you could funnel money through his meme coin, and then you can just give him jumbo jets and just sort of give it to him like that. And the funny thing is, not funny, tragic thing is, all of these principles we thought that we had, well, we don't have to worry about our elected officials getting bribed because of the emoluments clause. Maybe so. Because ultimately you learn our guardrails and our institutions are only as good as the people, right? As the people occupying those institutions. Because who's going to hold Trump accountable? Pam Bondi? Who's going to hold Trump accountable? Is JP going to? No. And so is the Republican Congress, is Mike, me and my son get notifications when we watch porn, Johnson going to hold him accountable? No. And so we're left realizing that our guardrails are gone. They're dead. Accept it. No, don't accept it, but vote
I feel
against
like I'm dying inside.
Sometimes I do feel that way, Michael, actually. Interesting you brought that up. Then BTC also said children get only $2.05. Trump gets a free luxury jet. Look at that thing. That's a jet.
You gotta settle.
You gotta settle. That's a jet. Even Tim Pool, I don't know, he trolls a lot, so I can't tell if he's being serious, but I think he's being serious, saying it bothers basically everyone. Yeah, and I even saw Laura Loomer was upset about this. I forgot to pull up those posts, but Laura Loomer was saying, this is bad. We'd be so upset if this were a Democrat, which they would. Apparently, Biden was supposed to be impeached, according to them, because Hunter Biden did business in Ukraine. Because Hunter Biden made money, let's be honest, as people with famous names do, saying, Hunter Biden, have you ever heard of Biden? Right? So yeah, he probably got jobs and business because his last name was Biden. But did Joe Biden engage in the corruption? Not that they could ever bring forward evidence of, but still they were saying he should have been impeached for that. Still they were saying he was corrupt because the very appearance that someone could give money to Hunter or give business to Hunter or buy Hunter's paintings, the very appearance that that could go on to influence Joe Biden, even if they never connected the dots, was enough. And now, not literally, but kinda, through crypto, they're just walking up in front of everyone. Like, not at a spooky, we have like the trench coat on, sit down on a bench and slide a briefcase of cash. No, they're just in front of everyone on national TV handing Trump buckets of cash. And that we're not supposed to care about that. Hunter Biden's business, we're supposed to be more concerned about than Donald Trump, the president's business, where he's the one making the money. His net worth is skyrocketing because of the meme coin. His presidential library is getting this gift. It's so sickening. But Caroline Levitt says, no need to fear. I have a cross necklace on. I must be telling the truth.
Clarify that Qatar is giving us a new Air Force One as a personal gift to President Trump. Are they gifting it to the country? What could you tell us about this luxury liner that looks...
You see, Brian, it's like the Statue of Liberty. It's really a gift to the country.
It's like a hotel in the air.
Well, the Qatari government has graciously offered to donate a plane to the Department of Defense. The legal details of that are still being worked out, but of course, any donation to this government is always done in full compliance with the law, and we commit ourselves to the utmost transparency, and we will continue to do that.
Do you worry that if they give us something like this, they want something in return?
Absolutely not, because they know President Trump, and they know he only works with the interests of the American public in mind.
So, Clara.
Yeah, if I know Qatar, if I know my friend Qatar, they're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart, okay? We're doing this because we've always just said that we agree with America. We love America. Qatar just loves America now. But what is there for us to do? I'm asking. Nothing.
I don't even know.
No, I don't either. It's to complain about it and hope that people are outraged by this and 100,000 other things and get up off their ass and go vote in future elections, I guess. Organize, mobilize, and vote. Share your thoughts in the comments. Get the bonus show by clicking that join button below.